Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 698 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Robert Hanapole. And if you want to hear about his group Laser Masters and building a business within a business, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Dr. Robert Hanapole on with me. Amazing businessman, practitioner, healer. There's so much that we're going to share with you today about his interests, which is his group called the Laser Masters. And you can see the logo behind him, ReliefNow Laser Centers. And we're going to geek out on laser types. We're going to talk about how to heal different parts of the body with his technology. And we're going to discuss cash-based practice and why that's important to every practitioner out there, not just chiropractors. And we're also going to talk about how to build a business within a business. All these things are amazing and fundamental for people to make more money and get people better faster. But before we jump into Dr. Robert's story, we're going to tell you our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is we do protect freedom of speech. I know that that's so essential to today's day and age, and I wouldn't say it if it didn't matter, but we know what it's like to be censored and shadow banned and traffic throttled, and we'd never do that to you. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but if you need guidance, find a chiropractor to help you. They're going to get you so much further with you and your family and answering those tough questions that you might have. Philosophically speaking, we do protect the sacred trust. That's BJ Palmer's last written words. If you guys want to learn more about chiropractic, go click on the show notes and hit Chiropractic Sacred Trust. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you did before, I guarantee you. Then philosophically sound message is, if you guys know a chiropractic student that needs more philosophy in their life, please share the show with them. I know there's a lot of schools out there that aren't talking innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and subluxation. So please share the show with a chiropractic student or a new grad. We do believe in subluxation-based chiropractic, and we also support innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And that creates educated intelligence. And with that, this is episode 698 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Dr. Robert, welcome.
Thank you. Glad I'm here.
So chiropractic, let's share your chiropractic story and how you got into this profession, and how long ago was that?
Well, a long time ago. Let's see. Really, when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I was introduced to chiropractic because my father loved chiropractic. And this was at a time when Dad was, talking to me about my future, and hey, what do you want to do? When you go to college, you got to start thinking about these things. And what happened was, I was also very interested in sports, played a lot of sports, had some injuries. I actually hurt my back pretty bad when I was about 17 years old, and just so happened that we received a paper, little tablet, little newspaper of a new chiropractor that was opening up in the next town. And my father said, hey, you want to go to his grand opening, see what it's all about, learn about the profession, let me introduce you to it. And I went, and that chiropractor was Dr. David Allen, Livingston, New Jersey. I was from West Orange, New Jersey, and he became my chiropractor and he taught me a lot. I mean, again, no lasers back then. No, he had his chiropractic tables, adjustments, but I really loved what I was reading, on the posters, and he had the brochures and everything. Yes, did lead back to subluxation, chiropractic philosophy, innate intelligence. I was all about it, and he was a great chiropractor, and I really had a big interest. However, and then when I went to college, I went to University of Maryland. A bunch of my friends thought that I'd be going to chiropractic school with them after college, but I also had another interest, another love, which was I really loved the business world, and I really liked marketing. So after college, I went the business route and worked in marketing, and then eventually marketing and management consulting, only to realize that I really hated the corporate world. I couldn't stand the politics. I couldn't stand being in that world. A lot of the just BS involved. So that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to take all the things that I've learned in the business world, and I'm going to apply it to what I really love, which is chiropractic. And I want to go back to school for chiropractic and open my own office or offices, and just take the experience with me, and help a ton of patients, and create success for me and my family. So that's what I did.
So you got introduced into chiropractic at a teenage life, and realized that it was a cool thing. It helped you, and then decided that business and marketing was a little bit more interesting to you at the moment. And then you realized that was wasn't the right arena for you to be working in. And you're like, look, I'm going to take my knowledge of business now and go back and to become a chiropractor.
Yeah, but I tell you, when I was working in New York City, I literally found myself during lunch walking into chiropractic offices, checking them out. Health food restaurants, health clubs. I mean, it was always also, again, another love of mine. I just didn't take that route initially, but something was pulling me towards it. And it got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to go back to school. So it was about 3 or 4 years later that I went back, and it was probably a good thing, because I went back with a more mature mindset, with some real life experience. I was very serious, in school. So everything works out for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you're hosting a group and helping chiropractors and other practitioners manage lasers and how to implement them and do business with them. And the group that you started, that I just was the MC at for you, is called the Laser Masters.
Yeah, which you were awesome.
Talk to us a little bit about the Laser Masters.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me just back up and say I still, have that passion for chiropractic. I still love chiropractic. I still, have the philosophy, innate intelligence, universal intelligence. I still speak to my patients, about that. Patients still get adjusted, in the office, but we separate chiropractic from the laser side of the practice. So it's not, we don't show that laser is chiropractic. It's not. Chiropractic is chiropractic, and laser is a completely separate, business model. But as much as I love chiropractic, I love the philosophy of chiropractic, I don't love the business of chiropractic. I don't think it's a great business model, for a lot of reasons. And I think, unfortunately, to a lot of people, it's really become almost commoditized, where patients, don't value it as much, maybe as they used to. And it's very tough for a lot of practitioners, out there, to really, make the income that they deserve, as chiropractors. I feel bad for them, but it's a wonderful profession. It really is. Just it's a tough business model. There's a lot of obstacles and resistance.
I've seen that too, and that's a big reason why I think an interview like this can really help a lot of people. because they don't understand how to build a cash-based practice. And I love that you mentioned um, chiropractor, also laser center. You can do both, and neither one of them loses its power.
Right.
Both are still thriving, and the patient or the client knows exactly what they're there for. But back to what I said earlier, we're going to talk about how to get people better faster.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of, like you said, you got into chiropractic because of an injury. There's a lot of people that are going to be coming into a chiropractor because of an injury. And that's something I think that we can, touch on as we have our conversation today. But tell us what the Laser Masters is, because I know that you said, hey, man, I'm still philosophically sound, even though I'm doing laser practice also.
Right. Well, we do both, I really don't like when people define themselves by what they do. For instance, somebody will say like, I am a chiropractor. Well, okay, but maybe you're also a husband and a father and a teacher and a pickleball player and a CrossFitter. Why define yourself and be limited to one thing when you might be a multifaceted individual with many interests? Okay. I mean, I come from a family. My father was a real Renaissance man, people used to call him. Okay. He was a businessman, and he was an artist, and he was an athlete, and he was a marathoner. He wasn't defined just by, what he did for a living or just by one thing. So I think that too many people, unfortunately, limit themselves, that way. And I don't like to do that. You could do many things, and you could do many things well. Okay. So when we're providing chiropractic, okay, I'm doing that as a chiropractor. When I'm providing laser therapy, okay, I'm doing that as a laser office. All right. Two separate things. But how the Laser Master started was that I just love laser. I mean, years ago, I don't know if it was 10 or 15 years ago, but we used to use the class 3B lasers. I found the physics, and the science of it to be fascinating. Okay. Because it really is the epitome of energy medicine. Okay. And I really feel like we're moving from chemistry to energy. Okay. And I mean, listen, think about it. I mean, you may be too young, but back in the day, Star Trek. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen these Star Trek episodes, but was it Dr. McCoy, Bones? Okay. He would help tissues to heal. He would help people heal by shining a red light. Okay. And we're talking, I don't know what year, Star Trek was supposed to be in, but that was the future. Okay. Using light, energy. Okay. So, it just interested me. All right. I find so many things interesting, and I find things interesting, I like to find out about it. So what I realized was we were getting really good results with laser for a lot of the joint pain, shoulders, knees, ankles, feet, elbows, wrists, and also helping to accelerate the pain relief part of, back pain, neck pain. It's not going to adjust to subluxation. It's not going to remove nerve interference, but it does help the body to function better. It accelerates the healing process. Okay. So I realized laser was really cool, and I kept on kind of upgrading my lasers and, getting different lasers. And then it just dawned on me one day that laser really could be the key to a practice within a practice. Okay. Because I found that patients were really trying to haggle with me when it came to chiropractic. All right. This doctor down the street, only charged me this, and this doctor charged me this, and this one didn't even charge me a copay. And it felt very challenging and commoditized. All right. Unless your name is Clarence Gonstead. All right. It's tough because, it really felt like I felt like a commodity. What really is that differentiation? I mean, you do have upper cervical, and you have all different types, of chiropractic biophysics, but still there's not enough public information out there that the public really understands that. The public can go to an upper cervical chiropractor and think that's what all chiropractors do. they don't really know how special that is, or they don't really know how special, biophysics is, or how a Thompson practitioner is different than a Gonstead practitioner. There's not enough information about that. So it really, is a perceptual, or perceptive commodity. But what I found when I was doing laser on patients, and I would say to the patient, okay, well, your laser visit today is, X amount of dollars, I didn't get pushback. All right. And it dawned on me, I said, wow, this is interesting. They're pushing back on me for chiropractic because they have a point of comparison. But they don't have any point of comparison really when it comes to laser. At that time, they didn't. Okay. And then I realized that, laser can really stand on its own. For instance, this perfect example yesterday, this was very serendipitous, but I, drove through the bank and I looked to my left and I saw across the street, there was a sign and it said South Florida Laser Eye Center. And I said, exactly. You see, the technology, laser, lends itself to a business model where with most technologies, you can't do it. You're not going to open up the therapeutic ultrasound center or the hot pack center or the electric muscle stimulation center or even the shockwave center. It's not really, I don't think it's going to work very well because people don't want to get shocked. But the public, perception of laser in all facets of healthcare, in aesthetics and beauty, and it lends itself to a business model. So, I created, a laser pain center along with the chiropractic office, not as a chiropractic office. So I always say, I joke around, but the model really is Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins. All right. 2 separate identities under one roof. Okay, sharing the space, not greatly increasing overhead, but with offering 2 different things. Okay, I have laser patients coming in that maybe even have another chiropractor. They'll actually say to me, is it okay if I go see Dr. Smith to get adjusted after this visit? And I say, that's fine. He's a great doctor. He'll give you a great adjustment. Okay, it's completely separate business. And these are patients that I never even would be doing business with under the chiropractic brand or the chiropractic banner. So I joke with some prospective members of our group, when they're thinking about joining, and I'll say, listen, I know you're a chiropractor and you're doing really well and you're looking to, maybe invest some of your money, or some of these doctors aren't doing so well. And listen, unfortunately, it's terrible. They want to get out of the profession. All right, because they're just not succeeding at chiropractic and they need some help in that area. But I'll say, James, I bet you've been thinking about opening up a Jersey Mike's, or you've been thinking about opening up a Subway. And they laugh. They say, how did you know that? Because they even feel burnt out, in their practices. And I say, I know, I understand, but you don't have to do that. You already have another business in your business. There's acres of diamonds in your practice right now. You have how many of your patients, I'll ask them, even though you're a chiropractor, how many of your patients are looking at you like you are the specialist for the other joints, like shoulders and elbows and feet? They're like, well, I tell my patients that I can adjust those joints too, but I'm probably not the number one choice. And I say, well, how would you like to be the number one choice? Okay. So we create a practice within a practice model, a laser pain center under the brand ReliefNow Laser Methods. And we help the doctors to really accomplish some pretty amazing things. For instance, it's unfortunate, but I think what's the number? About 10% of the population in this country goes to chiropractors. It's terrible. It should be 100%. We don't communicate very well. So having the laser pain center now, brings us the other 90% that maybe didn't want to go to a chiropractor because they've been misinformed. they've read something that was negative about chiropractic. They've heard, all these crazy stories. And now this 90% will come to our office under the laser brand, but then we get to gently teach them also about chiropractic. Okay. I mean, you see, laser goes better with chiropractic. All right. If you have a shoulder problem, okay, and we do laser on your shoulder, but if we find a subluxation at C5 and C6, aren't you going to get better results if we remove that interference that goes to the shoulder? Right. But we're getting them in for something that they're not fearful of and then teaching them what they need. Okay. The other issue, go ahead.
So let's dive into this a little bit deeper. You pointed to the neck. You said C5, C6. Those are lower part of the cervical spine. Those go to the arms and the hearts and lungs. Those nerves do. So let's just position this. Somebody comes in for their shoulder and you're like, whoa, your neck needs adjusted too. Like, how do you manage that case so chiropractors can understand like what you're actually doing? You're adjusting and you're treating those segments with laser and the shoulder with laser?
Right. So we'll examine the shoulder. Okay. All the, orthopedic tests, things that we've learned, in school, and we'll find a local problem in the shoulder that will be addressed with laser therapy. All right. Because the laser helps to get rid of pain, swelling, inflammation, and also helps to repair and regenerate tissue. All right. Enhances mitochondrial function. So we'll address the local area. Okay. But we'll also address an area that may be interfered with that's not supplying the shoulder with enough power so it can heal efficiently. Okay. Because, listen, chiropractic, right? The spinal column is the portal of entry into the entire body. All right. So if we just adjust the shoulder, we may get good results. But if we address the shoulder and any nerve interference, we're going to get outstanding results.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Kytronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. So back to your expertise, marketing. You came into chiropractic with a marketing background. What are you doing to help market laser to grow practices?
Okay. Well, first of all, we address the pain points that, a lot of our profession is experiencing, right? Again, why would you want to be swimming in an ocean, of competition, all right? That's only attracting 10% of the population. It drove me crazy, right? Why not attract 100% of the population, like I said, and then teach people gently, what they need. Have them first come into your office. Show them that, that you're professional. Show them that you can communicate well. Show them that, you're going to provide them with a great service. Okay. The other thing that we teach is, why should you be limited to a 5 to 10 mile radius around your office? Another thing that drove me crazy. There's a whole world out there, but most chiropractic patients are going to drive 5, 10 miles, maybe a little more in a more rural area. Okay. And why is that? Again, because of the commoditization, because, most of the doctors really, aren't out there, being perceived as a specialist or have a specialty that people are really looking for. Or if they do, the public doesn't even really understand that. All right. So we've had patients under the laser brand drive 3 hours to my office. Okay. I had one patient in particular driving 3 hours with his wife 3 times a week, James. And I felt bad. I said, listen, I'm sure I can find a laser for you between my office and where you live. And you know what he said to me? I see that this is what you specialize in. This is your thing. This is so, unless chiropractors can do that, like I said, unless your name is Clarence Gonstead, it's pretty tough to do. All right. So the laser gives you that specialty. It also broadens the scope a lot, because I remember when I used to talk to my patients in the chiropractic, wearing the chiropractic hat, okay, and say, oh, well, I can help your foot problem. I felt they didn't always hear that. I felt when I said foot, they heard back. Or when I said elbow, they heard neck. They didn't really, put 2 and 2 together, feeling like the chiropractor was the main person to see. They were thinking about going to the podiatrist or the orthopedic, okay? But under the laser brand, the patients are specifically coming for the extremities also. And then under the chiropractic, well, let's take a look at what nerves affects those extremities and see if there's any subluxations. Let's see if there's any interference. And if so, let's remove that so that your body can heal and express itself the way it's supposed to.
So you get a lot of people into your group. I was just down there with you guys in Delray Beach, met a handful of you guys, really good group. And as you said, some chiropractors are really struggling with identity. They're struggling with how they build income. They're struggling with overhead, things of that nature. What advice would you give to, say, a doc that's considering implementing laser into their office, and why it would make sense for them?
Do it yesterday. Okay? Because it's non-invasive. I've seen some miraculous changes with laser. Okay. I mean, I can give you, I had a woman come in, a diabetic ulcers on her 2 toes. Okay. And was crying in my reception area. And I asked her, I said, why are you crying? Are you in that much pain? And she said, no, I'm not really in much pain at all. I was just told that I have to have 2 toes amputated. And she asked if laser could help. And I said, it may help. Listen, there's limitations of matter, right, James? But I said, if you're willing to try it, I'm willing to, try it also. Let's see. So after the first laser treatment, she comes in a day later, and we actually both noticed the same thing. The ulcers actually look different. All right. When she first came in, they were kind of like dull looking. And the second visit, they were shiny. It was almost like the thinnest sheath was forming over. Okay. But it was literally about 9 treatments and they completely healed. She didn't have to have her toes amputated. All right. I mean, that's changing someone's life. Now, did she get adjusted? Yeah. Okay. Checked her spine, identified subluxations. She had some lower back issues going on. But, with the laser treatment directly on that area, they healed really well. And just so happens, again, serendipitously, her husband was amazed. Okay. And he became a great friend of mine. And he happens to be a personal injury attorney. So what do you think? He trusts his clients, okay? And he sends them to the chiropractic side, of the practice. So you just never know, and expand.
One of my good friends, Eric Plasker.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah.
He would always tell me this. chiropractic first, chiropractic second, chiropractic third, chiropractic and surgery fifth, chiropractic and drugs sixth, chiropractic and whatever seventh. I think that the core of what you're saying to our audience today is chiropractic and laser always. And I think that it just makes sense if you want to take care of a group of people that don't know where to go, who to trust, a group of people that are sicker than we've ever seen in the American society. And people, honestly, they just don't know that chiropractic is the solution for them. If they did, every chiropractor would be so busy that we'd have to start more colleges and create more chiropractors. But I believe a lot of what you're saying goes back to the client is we want results and people want to get better and they want to have things that are non-pharmacological, non-steroidal, non-injected, invasiveness. We don't want to cut it out, drug it out, burn it out. We want to see the body heal the way it's supposed to. And you're right, there are limitations that matter. Sometimes people are just so grossly mismanaged with their health that some things just don't heal. But I do believe that the core of what you're sharing with us today is the body has a way to self-heal and self-regulate, and that is chiropractic philosophy. And the body doesn't need anything extra in it, simply needs no interference. And light from laser does nothing extra except for removes the inflammation and speeds up the healing, which I think that a lot of times when people have acute or chronic conditions, these things can be sped up to heal, like you're saying, this woman's foot, and it gives people hope. And I think that that's a big purpose of what chiropractic does globally is it gives people that hope. And as the medical world kind of pigeonholed it into being an alternative, which it's not, but they've considered chiropractic an alternative. But when I see it, man, people are looking for chiropractic all the time. They just don't know what's called chiropractic. So if you can get people by marketing and by doing salesmanship into a different method, which is laser, it's going to help the chiropractor get more traffic into their office, create a higher net case value, and get people better faster with the chiropractic science, philosophy, and art. And it gives them the ability to do this with an add-on, which actually helps convert more cash and creates a better business model for everybody. Because if that's the thing that chiropractors want to do is get people better, then this is, to me, it's a great addition into that practice.
Yeah. I mean, you said it perfectly. Everything goes better with chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. If you're subluxated, laser's not going to adjust it. Ultrasound's not going to adjust it. Shockwave's not going to fix it. Okay. Everything goes better with chiropractic when chiropractic is indicated. Okay. But laser by itself is very effective on the local tissues. And, again, from a business model standpoint, it's fantastic for the doctors because the patients really don't have a frame of reference. They can't say, well, the last laser pain center I went to only charged me this. They don't have that. Okay.
Well, we just need to teach people how to make more money and how to become better
as a byproduct
business people. Yeah, of course.
Money should always be a byproduct of service. I just had a call with one of our members and, he was talking about adding some services in the office. And I said, well, listen, I think it's great. And I want you to make as much money as humanly possible with one caveat. The money has to be a byproduct of providing a great service to your patients. That's the most important thing. But laser in the laser centers allows us to do that.
Well, I loved our conversation today. I know I sent you out a boatload of questions. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to discuss with our audience today?
I don't think anything. I think that you covered a lot of areas. This went a lot quicker than I thought. But basically, if anyone, just wants to know how laser works, I can tell you real quick, again, it gets rid of the swelling and the pain and the inflammation. It helps to regenerate and repair tissue by speeding up, mitochondrial function by actually increasing ATP production. So it increases energy production in the body.
I love it. I think that everybody should at least go try it for themselves and see what it's like to get the care. I think that everybody has a necessity for healing something in their body faster, whether it's a skin condition or a joint issue. And I think that if I had an issue, which I did with my neck, I went and got laser.
I think Nelson treated your neck at the.
He did, and
Yeah.
I just think that anybody that gets care with the laser, it helps. Like I said, speeds up a chronic condition to heal better.
Right.
And I think that if you're saving people from, like the seminar's name was "Ditch the Drugs, Skip the Scalpel."
Right.
If we're getting people to not get on drugs and we're helping people to not get surgery, what a solution. What a solution.
Yeah. Our trademark motto is ditch the drugs and skip the scalpel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're creating a movement, and if any of the chiropractors listening to this, want to learn more about the movement, I welcome talking to them because, we are growing throughout the country. Matter of fact, we actually have an office in Dubai. So, we're growing internationally right now. But I've had chiropractors reach out to me that have been in practice for, 30 years that are in our group. And have actually said to me, you know what, just having our mission and this purpose of ditch the drugs and skip the scalpel rejuvenated me. Like now I feel like I'm ready to get back in the office and I feel excited about what I'm doing again. So, doctors don't have to go open up other businesses. They don't have to invest in other people's businesses. You already have a practice in your practice. You just have to implement it, put it together the right way, have the guidance, and we'd love to grow the group.
If people want to join you, where should we send them to as a web resource?
thelasermasters.com. And we have a national directory for our member offices, which is ReliefNowLaser.com. And all of our doctors are on there with their own websites. And they literally have a whole turnkey business model we give them. We give them a whole model.
Well, Robert, I love that you have such a passion for helping people and that you're dedicated to the future of practitioners doing better and helping more people also. And if you guys want to learn more about what he's doing with his group, thelasermasters.com or ReliefNowLaser.com. One of my mentors would always tell me the words that you use become the house that you live in. And I love the fact that you're giving people hope within their practices also by teaching them a method of ditching the drugs and skipping the scalpel. So with that, your episode 698 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I really appreciate you being our guest today.
James, I love what you're doing for our profession. And you were incredible at our event. You really, it was unbelievable. And just keep on doing what you're doing because you're helping so many docs.
Well, that's the big idea. My ambition was to create more chiropractic messaging and content than anyone else ever did. And we're in a digital age right now. And like I was saying to you before our episode started, the content we create is evergreen. And there's a database of chiropractic knowledge now that everybody has as a resource. So I appreciate you being a part of that story and sharing yours today.
Thank you.
And with that, I close out every show by telling you, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.